Hi everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And today I want to show you how I made the card that was posted as part of the Technique Tuesday blog hop today. And it features heat embossing. And so I decided to make a card using the Merriest Snowflake stamp set. Use heat embossing to stamp and heat emboss all of the snowflakes, and then use my blending brushes with my Night of Navy ink to create the background. I just love how the color pops, or the snowflakes will pop when you use this technique. So let me switch over to my desktop and I'll get started on making the card. If this is the first time that you found me on YouTube, welcome. And if it's not your first time, welcome back. I'm glad you decided to join me today. Don't forget to take the time to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get notified when I do my video tutorials as well as when I go live. I'd love to have you join me on a regular basis. All right, so here is the shift over a little bit. This is the Merriest Snowflake stamp set. There are dies that go with this. They are amazing. They are stitch dies, but I'm not using them today. I'm just going to make the card using this great stamp set. I've got a piece of Night of Navy cardstock. So all of the measurements for my card, as well as the written instructions, will be on my blog. And you can find that at stampingwithmelva.com. But I will put the link underneath the blog post so that you can find it. So this is a piece of Night of Navy cardstock cut 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm just going to fold it in half to form my card base. Take my bone folder and just give it a really good crease along that edge. Now, I've got a piece of basic white cardstock, and this is cut 4.25 by 5.5, and I'm going to have to trim it when I get this done, but I always like to give myself some extra room. So I am going to stamp using Versamark, and I'm stamping the snowflakes randomly. I'm going to stand up for this because it's just... So I'm just going to kind of randomly stamp snowflakes. Now you're not going to be able to see this, so they're on and off the paper, so they don't have to all be on the paper. Okay, so there's 3 of those, and then there is the smaller size snowflake that I'm just going to stamp again on and off the paper. And then the last one is the smallest snowflake. And I may not have room for too many of these. I think I need one maybe off there. And I think that's good. Now, the next thing that I have is I have white embossing powder. I keep my embossing powder in these little plastic containers because I like to be able to put my cards right into them. So it just makes it easier, keeps it all in one spot. And try not to get it all over the place. Sometimes even when I do it in there, I just want to make sure that I have it covering all of my snowflakes. Looks like I do. All right, so now I can put, even with that, I get it kind of all over the place, but it's better than in the little jars for me anyway. All right, so now it's going to get a little loud because I'm going to bring in my heat tool, which is here. Now, if you take your pick tool on the pointy end, it just gives you a way to hang on to this. Now, I'm going to put that back in. Now, it's going to get a little loud. You want to be on the second. There are 2 settings on this, and you want to be on the highest setting. And I hold it over top of an image, and it takes a little bit for it to start to heat up enough. Somebody actually showed it where they kind of just held it off to the side for 10 to 15 seconds before they brought it onto their paper. But I just fold it over one of the images until it starts to melt. And then you can start to to move it, and you'll see the magic start to happen. It's just, I love embossing. Um, it was one of the very first techniques I used, gosh, many, many years ago when I started stamping. And we didn't have heat tools back then. I used an old electric frying pan. I don't even know if they still make electric frying pans. And that's what I used to heat emboss. So you just move it around until you have all of your images. Now, again, you're not seeing this because I've got white on white. So this is going to be a surprise for you when you actually start just be able to see the snowflakes that I've stamped. Yes, almost there. You could use clear embossing powder for this if you wanted to. I just thought the white embossing powder for the snowflakes would be perfect. Okay, I think I've got all of my snowflakes. There, back to being a little quieter. Now I'm just going to let that dry for just a minute. It dries really quickly, but I'm just going to let it cool down. And while I do that, I've got Night of Navy ink. So I've got my Night of Navy ink pad, and I've got one of the blending brushes. So if you haven't used these blending brushes before, these are amazing. They kind of look like they're foam, but they actually are fine, fine bristles. They wash beautifully. I haven't washed this one. I tend to keep one for each color. So I have a blue and a green, and that way I don't have to kind of wash them up. But they do wash beautifully, and if you wash them on a regular basis, most of this ink actually will come off. So just take and pick up some ink, and you can just start. And I tend to use a kind of circular motion, trying to start off of the card base, and so you can just start to see the snowflakes start to appear. Isn't that cool? I just love this technique. It's like magic, they pop. So you're just going to continue, and it doesn't have to be completely covered and completely even. Makes it look a little bit more wintry just by getting the different colors and textures. Really pretty. I'm liking this. I hope you are too. All right, so I've got this mostly covered. Now, if I wanted to, you can go over it where you want to get some more ink. Like I said, I kind of like it so it's not all perfectly even. It makes it look a bit more like maybe a snowstorm. I don't know. All right, now I do have to trim this. So my card base is 5.5 by 8.5, and so half of this is 4.25 by 5.5, and so I want this piece to be 4 inches by 5.25. So I'm just going to quickly go over to my trimmer, which is over here off camera, and I will trim my piece to 4 inches by 5.25. There we go. There. I really like how this has turned out. Now I have a piece of basic white cardstock that I cut. This is 3/4 of an inch by, gosh, I didn't really measure this. I think it's 1, 2, 3.25. And then this is 1 inch. This is Night of Navy, 1 inch by 3.5. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment. I'm going to use this is the Merry Everything sentiment from the Merry Snowflakes stamp set. And make sure I've got it going. There we go. Get it going the right way. Hopefully I can get it straight. Not too bad. All right. And then when that's dry, I'm going to use dimensionals to pop this up. Those on. Try to get it straight. Now, I have some of the rhinestones. So these are just our basic rhinestones. And I'm going to put those on the snowflakes when I get it. Okay, so I'm going to adhere this to the card base. You can use whatever your favorite adhesive is. I'm using Stampin' Seal. When you heat emboss, sometimes the paper warps just slightly, so Stampin' Seal kind of all around, or the multi-purpose adhesive glue works really well for it too. Pressing that down. And let's put this on first before we... There we go. We'll put that in the middle. And now let's put some of the rhinestones in the middle of some of the snowflakes. Oops. In the middle of the snowflakes. Like that. There's 3, 4, 5. All right, well, maybe we'll put 1 in each. 6, and 1 there. 7. I like to have odd numbers. Lots of rhinestones. Okay. Such a cool technique, and really easy to do when you've got your embossing powder. So as I said, you could use white embossing powder like I did. Seemed to be obvious for snowflakes, but clear embossing powder works really well for this as well. So, all right. So hope you enjoyed the card. I hope you will give it a try. If you have any questions as you're making the card, just pop your question underneath this video, or if you're over on my blog, pop a comment on, and I'm happy to answer your questions. As I said, I hope you take the time to subscribe to my video. And if you're over on my blog, you can subscribe and get my newsletter. I do send it out, and you'll get tutorials and other information about what's going on with me and with Stamping with Melva. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the card. Have a great day. Happy stamping.